Honorable Jovia.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. The keywords in this motion are implement. And implementation means the act of planning, of putting a plan into action or starting to use something. Then also, SRHR refers to the rights of all people to make decisions about their bodies and live healthy lives. For example, a right to consent, a right to equality, a right to privacy, and a right to accurate health information. And also, as we remember, these are the few rights that I have talked about, or the services in SRHR. And also, according to Rebecca Onas, 2023 states that youth participation in SRHR information is a key component because this information has policies that can be put for age up, which can be put but have age appropriate information on SRHR for inclusivity. Why SRHR? According to Joint United Nations Program on HIV/AIDS, states that 3.5 million young people in East Africa are living with HIV and other infections because of insufficient SRHR education among the youth. Therefore, I call upon empowering the youth with comprehensive SRHR knowledge, which is critical because education saves lives and fosters healthier futures. I'm here to let you know that Uganda carries a 5.1% of people living with HIV. And in the village where I come from, Hoima village, it carries 6.7%. Dear fellow honorables, my village is past the number of even the country. So you can imagine. 2, according to the United Nations Population Fund 2024, states that 4 out of 10 of the girls aged 15 to 19 become mothers every day. And when I look at the Uganda's percentage is 25, according to MOH, where we'll see that the dropout of a girl child is so high, and also the boy child or the youth are also dropping out because of the efficient SRHR education. In my village, it is 30.6%. I think you also see that in Uganda it's 24 to 25, but still in my village, it is 30.6%, which is very high than the country that I'm representing here. Then, number 3, motivation and capacity to activists and agents of change. Here, this can be, what I'm talking about is advocacy. For example, if proper participation of the youth, with opportunities to voice their opinions about SRHR is influenced, we believe that there can be a lot of change. Then, my fellow honorables, the path that I want you to take is how the East African community can implement SRHR. My first view is that The East African community should look at the SRHR as a nuclear weapon that will help in implementation of creation of better decisions for the youth in the region, and so that this can help us to know what exactly are we dealing with, because we are really lacking behind, on this information. And also, I have live examples from my village and also from my country, Uganda, whereby most people are getting pregnant. Then after, it is when we provide them with the SRHR education. Secondly, the East African community, I'm calling it upon to do centralized database to track the SRHR related health outcomes, enabling policymakers to identify which gaps are they bridging, because we are also in these cases, we find cases of child maternal death. You find a girl of 10 years getting pregnant because maybe she was raped. Maybe she was, she was raped by an askari, but because she cannot receive the services she wants, or everyone is judging her, we find ourselves losing those young lives. So we really need to fight for the youth. My conclusion is that the investment will only be effective if there is concurrent investment among the youth and other initiatives designed to encourage the socio-economic empowerment of the youth. My fellow honorables, here is a question for you. Is it okay to keep watching the youth, especially the girls, knocking at your doors to ask for help when they are pregnant? And yet the information they deserve and require is out here being denied to them as their rights. Then also, the second one is that, is it okay for us to also keep watching the youth, especially the young boys or the boys, to keep their mental health damaged? Why am I asking this question? It's because we see when a young boy or a youth impregnates a girl child, they tend to go into drug addiction. Because of judgment, they run away from also their homes, besides the girl child as well. Thank you so much, Right Honorable.
Thank you so much, Honorable Jovia Kusima. So the motion is now open to the House. As I said, respect your fellow honorables, mind about the language, the time you're given as you put up your hands as you discuss in the House. Thank you. Let's have an honorable from Uganda behind.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable, for the opportunity. My name is Zahara Maria Mondera, and I'm here to agree with the motion. According to the Ministry of Education and Sports of Uganda, there is a report that 1 in 5 women in Uganda begin sexual activity before the age of 15, while 64% have sex before the age of 18. 1 in 4 adolescent women aged 15 to 19 are already mothers with their first child, and teenage childhood bearing is higher in rural areas and 27%, and also in urban areas it is in 19%. Right Honorables, yesterday I was reading in the Daily Monitor, there was a report about teenage pregnancies. Girls turn to Panado and milk to avoid getting pregnant. This is a report that was in Kalangala district, and this was published actually yesterday. Because they are desperate to prevent unwanted pregnancies, which is very dangerous because of the limited access to reliable information of the sexual reproductive health rights that they have. These girls have devoted to these measures in Kalangala district because they think this is the appropriate methods to avoid pregnancies, which is not right. I think these ladies, these girls should be taught about sexual reproductive health rights, and they also need the right to get this information because honestly, if you look at someone mixing Panado just because they had it from a different singer, they told them if you mix Senga is these aunties that you in a traditional setting. So they had that if you take 4 tablets of Panado with warm milk, you will not get pregnant if you get into sexual intercourse with. This is actually a report that was published yesterday. Actually, what we should do is that to prevent these things, we should incorporate these things into our schools. Actually, the Uganda as a country has what they call the revised rules on the prevention and management of teenage pregnancies in the school settings in Uganda. But unfortunately, when this was passed, these rules were not put into consideration. Actually, I think because they have guidelines, we would not be hearing about these issues of teen pregnancies. Because these guidelines stipulate a clear way of how we should handle these cases in the country. But unfortunately, these rules were not like adopted by the people of the community, especially the religious leaders. I think if religious leaders are incorporated into these activities, and they should like actually when you look at the traditional setting of Africa, traditional leaders and religious leaders are most of the people that are influential in society. They're even better than the politicians that you have in this country. If these religious leaders are incorporated into the system, I think this will be easy to be adopted into and like preached to the people in the churches and in the mosques. Because these religious leaders, when these rules were passed on to them, their claim was, why are we teaching these kids these things that are not meant to be hearing? They believe their schools have, by the way, maybe to note, most of the schools in Uganda are owned by the religious settings. If you've heard about Gayaza and Abisunsa, most of those schools are faith-based institutions, even Budo, faith-based institutions. So the people who sit on their boards will not agree to operate these things because they call them, the forbidden things. Why should kids be hearing these things? But ideally, kids are starting to have sex at actually the age of 7. This is a fact. If you read those reports, at age of 7, people have started already having sex. And actually stepping back and saying, no, these kids should not be incorporated into this system just because we presume they are still young. I don't agree. I feel these people should have the information, and the religious leaders in these institutions, because these religious leaders sit on these boards. I believe
Honorable time.
I'm requesting for 1 minute. I believe if these religious leaders are incorporated into the system of preaching on to these young kids that, if you want to have sex, this is how it should be done. Or maybe if these people in secondary school should be given maybe contraceptives for them to avoid these things, and also condoms. By the way, I was the health minister of Makerere University Business School, Jinja campus. But there was a study I conducted among the people of border stages. These men had this presumption of, we don't use condoms. Why would my wife find me with condoms in my bag? I was like, no, this is something you guys should normalize. You guys should have condoms in your bags for protection. Because honestly, when these men go out there, maybe to their wives, you don't know what your wife is doing or maybe your man is doing. I think these people need protection, but these men had stereotypes, and I think
Honorable, your 1 minute is done. Thank you.
Can I summarize, please? 20 seconds?
1 second.
Okay, please. Thank you so much. I think the second is done, but I would like to encourage our fellow youth to add on their voices onto these things, because these are things that are essential in community, and we all believe that if we incorporate these things into our society, we shall have a better society. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Let's hear from Honorable here from Tanzania.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Cecilia. I'm from Tanzania, and I second the motion. And probably I'm going to raise a very critical topic that I first would like to term this short argument as contraceptives for wrong gender. And secondly, I'm not against the men in the room, neither am I against the doctors in the room. But currently, there's significant gender imbalance in contraceptives options and contraceptives responsibility. While we have 20 different types of contraceptives, many have only two types. Vasectomy, which only 3% worldwide use, and we have condoms, only 10% worldwide of men use, which has significantly given burden to women, and 64% of women in the reproductive age use contraceptives. We need gender balance. This is one of my researches, and this was one of my fundamental parts to prove. Like, why do we need men options more than women? While a woman has only one egg in a month, a man still has more than 10 million sperms in a single ejaculation. Secondly, while a woman is pregnant for 9 months, she can't conceive another pregnancy during that time. So I can simply say that in 9 months, a woman is able to give only one child, but I'm sure that men can give pregnant to 9 other women every month. You see now. Now you know why I'm saying this is going to be so different, but it's going to raise a very good point. If we need to stop child pregnancy, if we need to stop unplanned pregnancies, men have to take charge of this. Again, we need to take responsibility, especially for men. This is for you now. You don't want unplanned children. You also don't want to have children which are not yours. We don't need DNA. If you take charge of your sexual lives, I'm telling you, you'll know this is my child, this is not. Because at that time you used contraceptive, and now you know, this time I used contraceptives, and this is mine or this is not. Instead of wasting time to invest on DNAs, let's have more options for men. Again, the more effort we put to women, they have side effects. I know all of us know about side effects for contraceptives for women. So I think it's better to champion for sexual health and reproductive rights to men, especially young boys, and then to the men in the room. So this is your chance to champion for more contraceptives options for men. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable. That is so interesting and something new. Let's have Honorable from Kenya right behind. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And thank you, honorable members who have spoken before me. Sexual reproductive health and right is a topic that most of the member states always try to not to discuss about it because of the issues that comes out of it. As you are all aware, the East Africa Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights of Bill of Rights of 2021 has not been ratified or implemented by any member state until now because of the issues that we are having. Some members are opposing some of the things that are in the Bill of Rights on maternal health, family planning, and gender-based violence. I believe all of us member states, we have the same issue on triple threats, especially on the young people. That is unintended pregnancy, gender-based violence, and HIV and AIDS. So what are we doing as Kenya? I have to submit what Kenya we have done. Myself, I'm sitting in the National Committee of Advocating for Inclusive and Comprehensive Sexual Reproductive Health and Rights. We are guided by our national policy on youth sexual reproductive health and rights. We start with the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Education and got the gaps from what the policies have because it really affects the young people. The government, that is, was opposing the idea of implementing comprehensive sexuality education among adolescent girls in school. So what we did, we developed with them age-appropriate messages for adolescents, those who are in school and those who are out of school. And we also developed messages for faith leaders through some organization and also the Ministry of Health and Education. Some messages for caregivers and parents to also use, which is really guiding us. I believe that we can all learn from each other because I understand the member states. We really appreciate Uganda because you are the best country. We always take your human stories from. Like, we get ideas from Uganda. If you sit down with young people from Uganda, they'll tell you this is what happens in their community. Just as the member who spoke before me was mentioning of her community. She's from that community and she knows what is happening. So let's join hands as young people and learn from each other. What can we do as we push the government? Because it's the government who will now come to the East Africa and push in the implementation of the Bill of Rights that we are all supposed to adopt. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Let's hear from her, the Honorable right there.
Thank you so much. All protocols observed. My name is Babidi Patience Gloria from Uganda. I am a representative of the youth with disabilities in my program, and I'm also an emerging leader of change with Women Deliver. I do strongly agree with the motion of a resolution for the East African Youth Parliament to urge the East African community to implement comprehensive sexual reproductive health and rights. Well, from my own experience as a youth with a hearing impairment, I have had a number of challenges when it comes to accessing sexual reproductive health and rights information and services. For example, some time back, I wanted to understand how to use a female condom, but I found that this information is a little bit sensitive and kind of private. So I went on YouTube and did Google how to use a female condom. The first video I landed on did not have captions. So I was only viewing what was happening. I saw them changing sides. I was not sure which side is supposed to be on top or the bottom. So some of this information is not easily accessible in the best way we want it, especially for people with disabilities. We end up getting misinformed about this very sensitive and useful information about sexual reproductive health and rights, and in the end, we make mistakes that we don't want to make. Now, supposing I got the information wrongly, I would have used it in another way, and maybe I would have conceived, and that would haven't been planned for. I would end up going for an abortion. In that case, I request people to come together collectively, make this information accessible for people with disabilities so that we can all move at the same pace without leaving anyone behind. Still, in my work, I have had the opportunity to meet a number of young people with disabilities through focused group discussions and workshops. So we engage and talk about these issues affecting their sexual reproductive health and rights. Many of them have complained that there is a lot of stigma from the community. People believe that persons with disabilities are asexual. They don't have those sexual feelings. Now they can look at you with your physical impairment and start assuming, how do you have sex? How do you even turn during all those sex types, you see? These things have to be changed. It goes back to the society and everyone at large. Let us stop stigmatizing persons with disabilities. Someone even asked me, if your partner is telling you, do you want me to increase or decrease? How can you hear that? I felt a little bit bad. So this comes back to the society. We all need to change and stop stigmatizing persons with disabilities. Well, I have a lot to do, but I believe I do strongly agree with the motion because persons with disabilities are left behind. We have very many protocols and laws that are supporting this agenda. We have the African Disability Protocol, which is supporting persons with disability to have a right to form and found a family, decide the number of children they want to have, and this takes us back to family planning. This is all about comprehensive sexual reproductive health and rights. And therefore, all East African community states should come together and help us easily access these services and information in the right way. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Let's hear Honorable Precious from Rwanda.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. My name is Precious Ntayomba. Mine is a point that is rather very emotional, and I start with like a question to my honorable members in the House. I am wondering, why is it that our men are not contributing to this discussion? I feel like there is a way, you guys. I understand that probably you guys care, but why do you feel like, are you shy? Are you shy? Why don't you vocalize? These are your sisters. These are
Order,
literally,
please.
these are your cousin sisters. These are your sisters.
Order,
These are your
please.
future wives. You need to
Order,
vocalize.
please.
I am just speaking out of how I feel.
Order, please.
Out of how I feel. See how this motion started with a lady. She spoke so well. She said this is an atomic bomb. And I feel like our men who are supposed to be supporting us as mothers, as future mothers, as sisters, they need to be by our side and they need to vocalize in the community. These are people in the health department, in the governance departments. They need to speak about these things. They don't need to be shy. I just rest my case. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
Order, please. Excuse me, please. Before I got a complaint from some of you, I am not balancing the House. So far, I started with Uganda, Tanzania, Kenya. So I am trying to get people from all over. The only men who are raising hands are Ugandans, whereby Ugandans have presented. So please, I know I am seeing, please. Order, please. Honorable, you don't have a right to point at me. So please, I need order. If you feel you're not comfortable or you're not ready to listen, you can easily stand up and get out. Right? Not allowed. So we are proceeding with a motion, and we are going to hear from the Honorable from Tanzania.
Okay, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, for letting me speak. And I'm going to passionately talk. Dear members of this House, as far as this motion is moving on, I'm seconding it, first of all. But when it comes to the issue of this motion, I've always tried to be on reservation side because of some stuff sometimes which accompanying this kind of motion. However, I said I second it. Reason being that sometimes this motion always is kind of attached with some sort of things which are a little bit so irritating. They're not so formal, but we all know things like the issue of the other side. Do I need to mention it? LGBTQs, things like, such kind of things. That's why I find I should be on the reservation side. But since this motion here has highlighted things, which very important things like the rate of HIV, teenage pregnancies, SRH2, SR, HR, exactly. That's where I'm compelled to contribute. This whole thing rotates around a responsible sex. We all love sex here, right? Yeah, we all love sex. That's it. But, no, it shouldn't be a topic now. Let me continue to contribute. My point is, the problem is it is irresponsible sex. That's all. You get the point? So what I'm trying to say is it's with both genders, male and females. And we love it, but we are not happy with the repercussions that come from what we love. That's it. And that's why we are here with this motion. If you say that you don't like such kind of a thing, and when we see it is, why are you here? So the thing is, I find it a problem with high rate of HIV. This thing, fortunately, I'm working in one of the national hospitals here in TZ, not as a health practitioner, but a supporter. But I've been witnessing from the community level, there's some stereotypes, just like previous discussants have discussed widely, especially with the madam there. There are so many stereotypes among youths. With HIV, you find the youth telling you that, I don't believe in HIV, I cannot get HIV. Proudly telling you that. Because I use oil, I go barely, but I don't use condom, I don't believe in such kind of things. I use oil. They apply on their genital areas. You get the point? Just as easy as that, I'm telling you the truth. So you can imagine the level at which this community needs this kind of education. There's also a problem with these short-term, these kind of tablets. They are now being aired. The danger of it is being aired. And it's prevalent, the use of it is prevalent among teenagers and youths. Here in TZ we call them P2. Postinale, I can be corrected. So it's not an eligible method of family planning. You get the point? But the rate at which that tablet is being bought from pharmacies all around, it is scary. And the repercussion from it, they are so scary. Some of them contribute to even cervical cancer. It's so dangerous, you can see. And when you ask these people, they don't have this kind of education. What does this imply? My friend, I have a baby girl. I have a daughter. That's why I'm talking passionately. You get the point? I have a firstborn who is a daughter. And there's a very important education which I want to give you all. I learned it recently. And that's why I said we all love responsible sex. Maybe, and we're from it. Some of us here are university students. Some of us, we have been teenagers. You get the point? There's one thing which I learned recently. It's biologically proven that, and why are we making responsible, an informed decision leading to responsible sex and the worst repercussions? The thing is, in the brain, there's what we call prefrontal. On your own time, just try to Google it, do a research. There's a part of brain located somewhere here. And the anatomy of brain is called the prefrontal cortex. That part is responsible for rational decision making. You get the point? And that's where you make informed decisions. And that part matures at the age of 25. And that's what I'm saying. A lot of uninformed decisions we do make, just recklessly. So we need this kind of education. I'm sure you didn't know about that, right? Yeah. So from now on, if you didn't know, now you have known. You need to educate your daughters. You need to tell your daughters to make informed decisions. Henceforth, we need to invest in SR, HR education. It's very paramount. This can lead to eradication of teenage pregnancies. The rate at which pregnancies among teenagers, It's worse happening. It's so worse. We all know. And the repercussions are open. That's it. There's call to action. I think, to my point of understanding, I wish EAC, EAC, it's a call to action. It should make sure that among these member states, it should be mandatory to give SRHR education in the respective Ministry of Health is. And they should just budget, there should be a budget for education, awareness among youth and pregnancies to stem from, on those levels of
time.
S6, S4, that's it. That's where we can prevent. And EIC should have a monitoring body to make sure that these member states are doing so. Thank you. I would love to submit my deliberation.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Okay, let's hear from Honorable Jemba. Let's mind about time.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I'm very glad that we're actually having this specific motion. We all know the changing age demographic. I come from a country where 78% of the population is below 35, but the median age is the age of 17.1, right? So quite a number of issues that you're going to face are in the age bracket that you're really looking out for. The issue of SRHR has over time met a lot of controversies because of the cultural issues that come along with it. And to a very big extent, for us who come out and fight for it, I think we've not done enough in one, showing that bringing SRHR or reproductive health services is not against the cultural grounds. No, it's actually there to better the services of the people we care about. One of my of the honorable members stood up and said, "Why aren't the men coming out to speak out on these things?" And I would still put it down to the issues that we've suffered with back in the communities that we serve. There is a common saying in Luganda which says, "Ensonga z'abakyala." Menstruation is termed as ensonga y'abakyala, which translates to women's issues. And over time, that has been just women's issues. No men were allowed to come in and support because there is that cultural sensitivity where they pushed away certain key issues which are fundamental for the development, because we know how much the women contribute to the sustainability of an economy or even a family, especially with ones that are backed up by agriculture. So what am I trying to push for? We are seeing high levels of teenage pregnancies. I work in Jinja Regional Referral Hospital in the eastern Uganda, an area that is greatly plagued by teenage pregnancy, an area that is plagued with HIV. And despite so many interventions, the SRHR services that are being offered from primary schools, of course, they are age-specific. And I will slightly disagree with what one of the honorables said, to go and teach certain things that are, at least for a higher age group, to the lower ones. I totally disagree with that. Let children be children, but then teach them what is necessary for the age. Then as they grow, introduce what is necessary by what? By the age. So what am I trying to say again? The issue of investing in SRHR to combat HIV, to combat teenage pregnancy, to combat these pressing issues is very pertinent and cannot be understated. So all I'm asking this House to support this motion. One, because the number of people that you're representing in this region, it's very, very huge. But as the years move, it's also going to continue increasing. The rates of HIV can only be combated by the issues, by the presentation of the key information that you need. One of the speakers talked about the myth around HIV contraction. In Uganda, we have some of the myths that when you wash yourself with Coca-Cola, you won't get HIV. Yes. And people believe this. And it has been there for so many years. And people are lost into it. When you go and squat on a warm fire, the HIV dies. It's true. These myths have been there for quite a long time. And it's only through this information that we'll bring to the schools, to the communities, to the cultural leaders. But again, we need to harmonize with the community gatekeepers. You need to harmonize with the religious leaders. You need to harmonize with the cultural leaders, because there is no way you do not have such an influence. People believe in their cultural leaders. They believe in their religious leaders. So you better bring them on board. You better bring them on as partners. You are not going to fight them and expect to help the people you're trying to help. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Need honorable from Kenya. Yeah, honorable, the corner, please.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the floor. Allow me to stretch a bit because it's about to get hot in here. And things are boiling nicely. But on the other hand, I would like us to also support this motion, because this motion is advocating for comprehensiveness, meaning bringing people together. And it's very important for us to ensure that we protect the future generations as we also learn from the previous generations, which brings about intergenerational dialogue. I would like to support what my honorable member has said, that we need to communicate with the communities that are around us. What we are learning from the people who are from outside Africa, but we are forgetting our indigenous knowledge. We need to capture our indigenous knowledge, and we need to ensure that we enhance the indigenous knowledge from our communities. Our communities who are based on family, and family is the basic unit in Africa. So why are we destroying our families in studying what the people from outside are doing, while we are not looking for finances towards learning from our communities? We should learn from our communities, from the community gatekeepers, from the headmen of the community, from the tribesmen of the community. We should also understand from the governments that were there before that we need to be very solid in making policies that lead to governance of families in terms of sexual reproduction. We understand that during the 4 days, there were no use of condoms, there were no use of contraceptives, there were no use of family planning. But at the end of it all, people used to stay loyal. There were no diseases. We could not see the spread of diseases. So what's happening? It's because we are abandoning the indigenous knowledge we had. So I want us to understand this, that the policy that we make should be Africa-centric. We should ensure that whatever we have, the data that we collect, the research that we do comes from the communities. And in that way, the Bill of Rights that comes to the parliament should be from the community, but not from researchers from outside. We should understand the research that we are getting. We should understand the data that we are getting. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Let's hear from the honorable from Tanzania behind. No. I need a Tanzanian lady behind you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My name is Lightness Limbe, a representative from Tanzania, and I'm going to support this motion. Focusing on my country, which I live, Tanzania, there is this lack of youth-friendly services. We lack youth-friendly services, whereas these young people are being facing barriers on getting these services, which you call sexual and reproductive health services, whereas they only being judged or being discriminated when it comes to getting the services. So you may find that a person is, or a young person needs these services, and only what she's being offered is judgments or discrimination. I can give you a little example. I was having this friend of mine. She found herself that she's pregnant. She used this urinary pregnancy test. Then she found herself that she's pregnant. So I told her that you have to go to the hospital so that you can confirm that if you are pregnant or not. The answer that she gave me, she said that I'm not going to the hospital. I don't want to be judged by the nurses, by the healthcare provider there. So we see that in our country, in Tanzania, these young people or youth, they lack this youth-friendly health services in terms of sexual and reproductive health services. So as the youth, as the young advocates who are here, I'm encouraging you to advocate for this, to advocate for youth-friendly health services, so that these young people in our region, they can access these services and reduce being addressed to these problems, especially these teenagers' pregnancies, this and planned pregnancies and all that. So I really encourage you, for the advocates who are here, the Tanzanians ones, you should advocate for this. We really lack these youth-friendly services. So that's my view. That's all.
Point of information.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I would like to inform the former speaker that we have multiple friendly services in Tanzania, and we have organizations dealing with that, including Taweza, including Maria Stops. We have Umati. We have multiple organizations working to provide those friendly services for youth. Kindly be informed and get engaged with those organizations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Our time is getting done. Let's have a speaker from Uganda, the Honorable behind. Yeah, he has been on waiting.
Thank you very much, dear Right Honorable Speaker. I am Opolote Emmanuel Solomon from Uganda. Firstly, I'd love to state categorically that I am not supporting the motion, but I'd love to propose alternatives to how I can support the mothers and the ladies, as my sister Precious
Order in the House.
earlier stated. These are the reasons why I'm not supporting the motion in particular. Firstly, we should know the whole idea of comprehensive sexuality education, or SHR, in those abbreviations, has not just started. This is something that has been there for very many years. So it has actually been done in a number of countries. When you look into data from Canada, if you look into data from the United States of America and other spaces, you'll find that this is a program that has really been in place in those countries. However, has it achieved the goal that we are trying to achieve? Those are some of the questions that we need to objectively ask ourselves. Has this program achieved what it seeks to achieve in those other countries? Now, I'm going to specifically present the downsides of this particular program. It sounds so beautiful to the ears, it sounds so sweet to listen to, but very destructive, actually, to the society. One, thankfully, a number of speakers have already portrayed the negative effects that come with, rolling out, freely these particular aspects of, or packages that come with what we are trying to speak about here, like contraceptives and the rest. I wish the people who were seeking to, move this motion could also present and also portray the other side. You know, like how people who sell, the companies that make cigarettes, they show you this is a cigarette for smoking, but it is very disastrous to the what? It causes cancer. So when you come knowing. But unfortunately, the ones who promote the whole aspect of sexual health, reproductive rights, and the rest, do not portray the negative effects that have come with this whole package. Now, these are some of the effects. One, you sexualize. I wouldn't love to take the information now. I request that I finish. The speakers can probably say something else later. Let me just finish. Firstly, this whole aspect actually sexualizes the young children. You know, we are trying to move emotion to litigate for a few as against. We are forgetting the fact that the moment we move this policy, it will open a floodgates for very many others to fall into this kind of what? Into this kind of aspects. This is an issue of choice. You know, it is not that everyone who engages in sexual intercourse is forced to engage in sexual intercourse. This is an issue of choice. And sexual intercourse has repercussions. Actions have repercussions. So people need to know.
Honorable time.
I can request, since I'm the only opposition member so far, I request to represent the opposition in full. I request for some more minutes. Thirdly, there are also components within this whole package that we are talking about that are very disastrous. Thankfully, Doctor alluded to some of them. I don't know, Doctor? Yes, Doctor alluded to some of them. There are some components within this whole package that are very disastrous, and this is the reason why a friend from Tanzania already presented on that. This is the reason why the partner states in the East African community have dragged on ratifying this particular treaty that comes with sexual reproductive health rights and the rest. So one of them is abortion. We so well know that abortion is, one, illegal in most of the partner states, at least to the great extent. The partner states that I'm reliably aware of, it is illegal. So because it is illegal, I beg your pardon, when you roll out this whole package, it comes with the component of what? Abortion. It is not only about contraceptives. We have to look at it in whole. So when you say, I'm supporting the motion, but I have reservations, just say I don't support the motion in all because of this and this and this. Thirdly, it is important that we support what is already available. The programs that are available to combat HIV, the programs that are available to combat teenage pregnancies. One of the ways we can combat teenage pregnancies is implementing the available laws. One, on child defilement. You know, defilement in itself is one of the causes of early teenage pregnancies, because, you know, this is an older man having intercourse with a younger child. 15 years, this is a young girl, according to most of the laws of these East African community states. So it is important that there is protection of the girls. We need to protect them using the legal machinery that is available. Let us prosecute the perpetrators who cause early pregnancies or who lead the girls into sexual intercourse at an early age. We need to really be strict and implement the laws that are available.
Thank you so much, Honorable, please.
Lastly, Madam Speaker.
Honorable, please.
I kindly request, Madam Speaker.
No.
The last one.
No.
Like, I don't see anyone in opposition here.
No,
I can give the point to her.
No. We have some of our fellow honorables who are in the hospital right now. Their friends are inside here, and some are not aware because they are offline. So we need to be brief. You know, we came from far, and we are about to go far again. So we are going to end. Okay, I already have my friend from Kenya who has been complaining since morning. He's the only last one. I'm giving a chance. We agree? Yes. No. Please, order. 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 Let's hear from the Honorable from Kenya. And he's the last one.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. My name is Dafo Dorino from Kenya. I have a very natural character, and so I will not be very holy with my words. So one of the things these people are failing to mention, actually, in Kenya, for example, we've received up to $1 billion in funding to help the girl child with SRHR issues. I've worked for an NGO called Issues Life Africa that does SRH issues so much. They spend almost 500 million doing SRHs. But 6 out of 10 girls, after all that education, still ends up getting pregnant or other kind of diseases. So one of the things I've observed is the wokeness that has been transferred to Africa by feminists from the Western countries, feeding toxic information, not right information to our girls, but very toxic. For example, did you know in a month, a woman is only fertile for 6 days? In a month. You can Google it. How many days is a woman fertile in a month after periods? Is it 14 days? So why are we feeding our girls 14 days? Why are we feeding our girls, first of all, with these toxic contraceptives? Do you know how many days P2 stays in your body, for example? And the effects of these contraceptives that we've been feeding our girls. What I'm trying to say is, when it comes to SRH issues, the educators are not giving the right information to our girls. That is the first thing. You do not educate the girls on how their body works in the first place. All we do is give pads, give panties, tell them when a man tells you this, do this. When a man tells you that, do that. But we are not, because the age of consent, for example, in developed countries is 16 years. The age of consent to sex is 16 years. Ours in most African countries is 18 years.
Point of information from the Honorable Speaker here in front of you.
Yes.
Okay, she's okay. Proceed.
So I'm about to finish, Madam Speaker. What I'm telling you guys, when you go back to your countries, please, when you're doing SRH educations and when you're talking to your government, please tell them the right information on how their body works. And of course, with your members of parliament, because we do have lots of budget that are being passed by members of parliament. But our members of parliament have deliberately failed to pass laws to have SRH funding from the government. It has been used as a political tool, for example, in Kenya, where women reps, women representatives, by the way, they've never wanted to end SRH issues intentionally. Women leaders have never wanted. All they want is to get the funding to full their bellies. That's it. But they can always enact a law in the parliament and say, let's have 1 billion Kenyan shillings, 1 billion Ugandan whatever, for SRH provision. Let's not depend on the donors. And this is why we are getting wrong information from the Western feminists, feeding our girls very wrong information out here. So when you go back to your country, EAC countries, please do talk to your government. You have organizations, education, give them the right information. That is all I want to say.
Thank you so much, Honorable. We are not adding. So we are going to vote. Okay, you've been struggling. It's okay.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, the August House. My name is Donata Kajumba Peruth, and I'm the Deputy Executive Director of Uganda Youth Alliance for Family Planning and Adolescents Health. And I'm also the board member of the European Union, the Sounding Board of Uganda. So this is just point of information. When we are talking about sexuality, reproductive health rights, we are not bracketing it into family planning alone. When we are talking about giving information, we want the young people to have the accurate information so that they make informed choices. Because at the end of the day, however much you say, do away with this motion, they are still going to practice all these other things that we are denying them, yes? And then they are going to practice illegal methods of destruction of their bodies, and they don't understand how their reproductive bodies are operating, yes? And they take milk and Panadol. And then when we talk about abortion, there are those that are actually doing it illegally by using hangers, sticks, and I don't know what other things to insert in their vaginas.
Honorable.
Sorry. To
That's
insert.
not information you're...
I'm diverting. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
please.
Let me conclude. So when we're talking about SRHR, we're not bracketing it into family planning commodities alone. We are including it into information, the right age appropriate information for the young people. Let's be guided.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you. Thank you. So we are going to vote. So, not allowed. Order. Order, please. As the motion for a resolution of the East Africa Youth Parliament to urge the East African community to implement comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights services as essential interventions to address pressing issues, including high rates of HIV, teenage pregnancies, and insufficient SRHR education among youth across the region. Among the youth across the region, as many as of the opinion say aye. Then as many of the opinion say nay. So the nay are winning it. Order in the House. Do we agree by voting by the hands? Yes. Okay, as many of the opinions say aye. As many as of the House say nay. So the I have it. Order in the House. Order is overruled. So we are proceeding next, the prayers from the clerks. I expect total silence.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable members, the protocol are observed. The first motion, we had the one which state East Africa Youth Parliament arguing on East Africa community member state to prioritize the invest in digitalizing youth programs at regional levels to expand the youth access to East Africa community opportunities and collaborative development. So this motion was well elaborated by the motion mover. Thus, these digitalizing skills are there to develop youth in technology. And within the East Africa community, we have different programs, including the East Africa Youth Network, the East Africa Youth Ambassadors, the East Africa Youth Empowerment, and the East Africa Youth Entrepreneurship Incubation. Therefore, in fostering the existing of this digitalizing program in East Africa community to the youth, some programs that impact the youth with digital skills are well implemented, and the discussion, let's base on how these digital programs that are present in East Africa community can help youth in creating employment and opportunities. And these were the views of honorable members of parliament. One, they spoke on the challenges like network and funding, which also he advised that for this, let's look for the beneficiaries of these programs, because Some people in the rural areas, they are not benefited, but in urban, most are benefited. Honorable from Rwanda spoke on EASCO, and he advised on establishment of East Africa community in the regions that the infrastructure that are present, let be well established to enable the digitalizing of these skills. Honorable Olin explained on East Africa country to develop platform to enable youth in digitalizing, and she advised on East Africa to build the platform in digital opportunities and let these programs in East Africa countries to be well implemented. Also, Honorable from Uganda support the motion that these digital opportunities favor the urban individuals and advising for the government countries to enable this digitalizing to individual in both rural and urban areas. Honorable from Uganda explained that in East Africa community, there are different programs, including the health programs. Let them be accessed in digital programs and enable youth to benefit such opportunities in both rural and urban areas. Honorable from Tanzania explained the digital skills in marginalized are not well formulated, so he advised on these digital skills to be formulated with the policies that can enable the effectiveness implementation. Also, Honorable Banners from Kenya, he explained that the most youth programs in digitalizing, let them be well sustained in the member states so as to enable the sustaining of these digital programs whenever they are present in the member state countries. Honorable Kabaka explained and suggested that this education, let the education, the awareness of the network and digital use of the youth to be well addressed. Also, he explained on sustainable development, ways to be implemented so as to enable the country in fostering the issue of sustainable development in the issue of digital skills. Also, Honorable from Tanzania explained this digitalizing help to create employment opportunities, also help youth to learn and obtain technology skills. Honorable Hilal explained for present of supporting for digitalizing is very important so as to build the importance of this digitalizing to both youth. Also, Honorable from Kenya explained and discussed that these digital skills should be implemented to help in digital infrastructure, and there's a need of digital materials to expand the access of essential information like job opportunities, which will also help in fostering the issue opportunities and skills to the youth. Also, they discussed Honorable Elisha that there should be a uni network of East Africa member states, also each member state to have digital system and should be accessed in all East Africa community members.
Yes, point of order. Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, let me take 2 minutes to summarize this.
It's a point of order, so you have to stop their leader.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm going to read the prayers that are highlighted in the second motion. The second motion was a motion for a resolution of the East African Youth Parliament to urge the East African community to implement comprehensive sexual and reproductive health and rights services as essential interventions to address pressing issues, including high rates of HIV, teenage pregnancies.
Excuse me, Honorable. From the previous speaker, the point of order he put is the same thing you're repeating.
No, this is just the motion, Madam Speaker. Yeah, it is not the discussion. Thank you. So we had very insightful discussions, and the following were some of the prayers. One of the prayers we received was in regards to empowering the youth with comprehensive sexual reproductive health rights information to enable young people make healthier and safer choices. We also received a prayer from Jovia, the mover of the motion, who insisted that SRHR is a nuclear weapon that can drown young people, and thus there is a need to give them comprehensive access to information that would enable them to make healthier and safer choices. She also noted that there is a need for investment, which will only be effective with the participation of the young people in this room. Now, when the discussion was opened, we received recommendation from Zahara from Uganda, who noted that there is a need to incorporate sexual reproductive health rights information in schools to, yes, in schools in East African community member states, showing that there is also a need to leverage the authority of traditional and religious leaders in SRHR information, noting that they have a kind of power that cannot be underscored. She also noted that we need more options for men, and this was from Cecilia from Tanzania, who noted that there are only 20 options. There are 20 options for women and only 2 options for men, and yet they carry the biggest ability to to lead to teenage pregnancies, HIV infections, and the like. So she noted that there is need for more options for men to help save on DNA money and also help capture and ensure that teenage pregnancies and the like are not an issue anymore. She also noted in a prayer
On page 48, it gives our prayer, the council prayers, which is only around 5 lines. But what we're doing are wishes, which are also there. We started, I think, repeating this yesterday. And today we're also climaxing the errors we're making. It will be okay if we can still apologize and we go back to the rules of procedure, which is clearly on page 48 for the clerks. Through your office, I would request, can they go to the procedure guideline that is there and just read that prayer for us? These are wishes that they will combine and later on share with us.
Speaker, I am asking for your permission to answer the Honorable.
Honorable Clerk, I think there is no need to answer. So what she's doing, all of them will write the minutes, they will share in the group to give you feedback of everything. So I think she can read the prayer the Honorable is sharing, and we end there.
Okay, Madam Speaker. The prayer. May we humble ourselves. Almighty God, who in your wisdom...
Order, please. As you stand up, as you keep quiet.
Almighty God, who in your wisdom and goodness has appointed the offices of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society, good of all human lives upon it, and just government of its people, we beseech you, you to look with your abundant favor upon us, your servants, whom you have entrusted with the performance of such important trust in this community. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we may treat and consider all matters that shall come under our attention and deliberation in so just and a faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of this region, and of those whose interest you have committed to us. Amen.
Thank you so much, honorables. As we are concluding our session of today, I would like to introduce to you the board of chairman of Tunaweza organization, Mr. Innocent Charamira, who is also executive director for Africa Safaris. He's right there, extreme right, so he's one of the bosses. He's one of the reasons we are here. So I expect you to clap and appreciate. Thank you so much, Mr. Honorable. We appreciate your support. May God richly bless you. So right now, we are going to adjourn 7th Parliament. Right now. So what we are going to have, we are going to have the remarks. Then we shall adjourn and move once. Thank you. So we are going to have the closing remarks from the partners of Faraja, whichever organization that put their efforts for us to be here in one way or the other. So we are going to have the first one, Mr. Jack Tusime from East African Youth Network. I expect order since these are our last minutes in the house.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker, for this opportunity. Honorable members of this House, Faraja team, I greet you and I salute you so much, colleagues. I don't want to take much of your time. I just want to give me 2 minutes. We were supposed to have a session on the East African Youth Policy. We are in the process of the review. But Faraja is our member and a partner, and we were the ones leading the process with the East African Community Secretariat Gender Team. So we have decided to co-opt the team, the East Africa Youth Parliament, to be part of the team. So the East Africa Youth Network members, led by Honorable Hilda Gaspar and Honorable Elijah Tipangu, will take this process forward. For now, we are in the online assessment process where you honorable members will have an input in the policy. And those honorable members who don't have the policy, Honorable Hilda and Honorable Elijah will help us through the Speaker's office to ensure that we have that policy. You look through it. It came into existence in 2013. It expired in 2018. COVID came in and some other issues, so we've been in the process of reviewing it. And I hope the recommendations will be captured. Then we're going to have the East African Secretary General's Forum in Nairobi in December, and also partner with your team to ensure that your recommendations are catered for. I know you work with the Parliament, IALA, but we also have keen interest in this so that we can have one voice. Otherwise, I want to congratulate all of you for having participated fully in this process. I want to encourage you that it's your mandate to contribute to the integration process. And I'm actually impressed by all members who made it to this parliament. My prayer is that this parliament can happen maybe every week, or it's captured and becomes an organ of the ESC. So I don't know how you're going to push this. And I know you have the power to ask for money from the ESC to ensure that the Speaker's office is not made redundant. The previous Speaker put a bar a little bit higher by fighting for this parliament. So I hope that the current Speaker can maybe work with her and also ensure that this parliament doesn't only sit in a year, but you can sit as many times as possible, and not only in Arusha, but you can also rotate like how the Yala chambers normally be. I have seen very powerful honorable members of parliament whom I would want to associate with. So when I reach out to you, please come and help us. We work together. I wish you journey masses, and maybe to correct you in one or the other, the ESC countries are referred to as partner states. Not that the member thing is wrong, but I think when you're partnering with someone, you're more active. When you're a member, you can sleep and maybe don't be active. But when you're a partner, you're very active. So when you're organizing your meetings out there, please tell your people that it's partner states. I want to thank you so much. The East Africa Youth Network is open as an umbrella body for the youth civil society organizations in the region. Please reach out to the members that I've told you and see how you can be a member. I salute you, honorable members. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Jack Tusime. So we are going to have Mr. Innocent from Tunaweza.
Honorable guest, my name is Innocent, body chairman of Tunaweza, also director of Africa Safaris. Estimated colleagues and valued member of East African Parliament, it's an honor to stand before you today to celebrate 7 years of extraordinary partnership together. We have built a platform to empower East African youth to amplify their voices. Shape and policy, we drive meaningful change across our region. What began as a vision to unite young leaders has grown into a powerful movement for Easter Unite, resilient and progress through our dedication and collaboration. We have witnessed our transformative impact to youth-led initiatives and the translated border and the uplift commitment. As we look to the future, let us continue to innovate, embracing inclusive and harmless immense potential for youth. Together we can achieve even milestone for together, East Africa. Thank you for your trust, support, and commitment to this shared journey. The future is bright because of you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Innocent. We can now hear from Success Hands. Mrs. Asmini, who is a representative.
Honorable Madam Speaker, distinguished members of Parliament, good afternoon. Okay, my name is Asmini, and I'm a representative of Success Hands Initiative. And we have been supporting the East African Youth Parliament, I think for 4 years now. And today, really, I was a little bit boiled up, and the way you guys were boiling up my blood. I really enjoyed the session, and I look forward to see more of you participating in the next coming years. Please share this information with other youth as well. Your collaborations, your inputs, your suggestions, and anything that you have to take the East African Youth Parliament further from where it is right now. It's really valuable to us, and we really appreciate your participation. Thank you, and welcome again.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Asmin. So we are going to hear from Mr. David Nyaribu from Action Aid.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker, and congratulations on your election, as well as the Speaker. I think we seated at the back there. But I also want to congratulate the outgoing Speaker and the Deputy. My name is David Nyaribi. I work with Action Aid Uganda as a leadership and governance specialist. So work around youth engagement lies in my docket. I want to congratulate the honorable members for moving all the way from the different places to Arusha, which is like the headquarters of East Africa. And I also want to say thank you to other partners, the ones that have just spoken, but all those that spoke from yesterday, especially the ESC Secretariat that welcomes all of us here. I also want to congratulate you for making it to this parliament. If you did not know, thousands or even millions of young people would have wished to be here from within the region, but you must ask yourself why. And when you answer that question, I think you should have a smile and know that there is something special about you. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll be brief. Just about 5 days ago, I was impressed with the one Maxwell from Ghana who introduced himself at the ULEAD Summit by saying he was African but holding a Ghanaian passport. For those that were at the summit, I think remember this. How I wish each and every one of us would be proud to be East African. Yes, we come from our partner states that send us here, but we are looking at a bigger vision. And I just thought that I would, in the 2 minutes I have, I can re-echo the vision of the ESC. We all aspire to become a prosperous, competitive, secure, stable, and politically united region. This is the vision that we are working towards. So all the deliberations that we have had, plus the action points that we are taking from here, we should work towards this vision. But it is also important to remember that it starts with the individual. It starts with you and I. Because even the leaders that we are trying to take these petitions to and asking them to do something about it are also at the end of the day individuals. So it starts with the individual, moves to the family, the community, to the partner states, to the region, and this should translate to the Africa that we want as described in Agenda 2063. So I will urge that each and every one of us will look inward and work on the aspect of self-leadership as we also aspire to lead others and to lead ourselves to the region that we want and ultimately the Africa that we want. So we strongly ask that we become and contribute towards servant leadership. I am happy that this year I have moved with the process all the way from the regions, the 7 regions that Faraja Africa Foundation for Uganda moved within the country to the National Youth Parliament and finally to the regional parliament that we have. So this process should actually shouldn't stop here, but we should be looking forward to take these conversations and our actions far. Last but not least, it's a learning process. I know within the room there could be people that are still disgruntled, or you could feel that you were not given chance, or the way we have behaved in the House was not appropriate. But I just want to urge us that we take it as a learning process so that we aspire to do better this parliament, and then you should end up in the real elected parliament in your partner states and as well as the East African Legislative Assembly. This I commission you to become, and we should. This should not be the last time we are meeting or just aspire to meet in the next youth parliament, but we should also aspire to meet in the real parliament. I never finish my speech without asking for a strength-based approach towards the region and our countries. Yes, our countries and the region, we still have a long way to go. But truthfully speaking, there are certain things that are very nice and very positive already. Yesterday I had dinner with 2 ladies that are not from Africa. One is from Finland and the other is from Britain. And they told me that they wish we knew what we have, because they have left their countries and they have actually settled here in Arusha. And I asked them why. And they said, people talk about paradise, but we're already in paradise. I hope and believe that we should see ourselves that way. So let's amplify the good that is in the region, the good that is within our countries, even as we work on those that need to be improved. I wish you well, and I pray that God blesses you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. David Nyaribu. So we are going to hear from Faraja Africa Foundation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Protocol observed. I greet you all. I promised today that I would speak better. So I'll request for a few minutes. We stand at the greatest crossroads of our time. Today we have a chance to pick up the baton, to run our race, to resign ourselves to the shackles of blame and the dungeons of despair. The East African Youth Parliament is not just a gathering. It's a beacon of hope, a chance for us to be the light of East Africa. As the writer once noted, with all its charm, dangery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. In East Africa, we must add on to that beauty and hope. We are here to ignite that spark, to encourage each participant to shine brightly and contribute to our shared future. Let us embrace our potential as young leaders. We are not merely the leaders of the day, we are the architects of today. Our voices resonate with power and possibility. In this room, we have future policymakers, innovators, and change makers who will shape the narrative of our region. We often hear that youth are the leaders of tomorrow, but I say we are leading today. Each one of you has a role to play in crafting policies that reflect our aspirations and dreams. Let us change the status quo with creativity and humor, because who says serious matters can't be addressed with a smile. After all, laughter is a universal language that can bridge divides and foster unity. A heartfelt thank you is due to our partners who have believed in us and supported our journey. Your commitment is invaluable. Together we are building a brighter future for East Africa. You provide us with resources, mentorship, and opportunities that empower our voices. Remind us that collaboration is key. Together we can achieve what seems impossible. talking about unity, it's an essential ingredient for progress, like a well-cooked Ugandan matoke or a spiced Tanzanian pilau or nice ugali from Kenya, any kind of meal that we can all sit down together and share. It is a blend of diverse ingredients that creates something truly delicious. Each one of us brings unique flavors to this parliament. Let us celebrate our differences while working towards common goals. Imagine if we all decided to be like the mighty baobab tree, strong yet flexible, rooted in tradition, but reaching for the sky. Together we can weather any storm and grow towards greatness. As we embark on this journey together, I urge each participant to engage actively, speak up, share your ideas, let your voices be heard. This is your platform, use it wisely. Whether it's advocating for climate change or championing education reforms or SRHR, every voice counts. Let us not forget, change does not happen overnight. It requires persistence, patience, and sometimes a sprinkle of humor to lighten the load. So when faced with challenges, remember this. Even in adversity, there is always room for laughter. Let us be the light of East Africa. Let us illuminate paths for others and inspire change through our actions. As we gather here as one united front, let's commit ourselves to being champions for progress, because together we can turn dreams into a reality. With those few words said, I'll pass on a small communication. Dinner will still be at your hotels. I'll communicate more details about the cultural night. Other than that, I want you all to have a beautiful rest. Tomorrow we'll be setting off early in the morning, probably between 8 to 7, 7 to 8. So have ample rest, freshen up, refresh your systems, you know, all those things that go on. And yeah, I wish you all a blessed evening. And once again, thank you so much for your participation. It has been quite an interesting experience this year. And yeah, thank you all once again. That's all.
Thank you so much, Madam Sharon. Maybe I can pass on. It's just I want to appreciate you. The leaders, I think I'm not even supposed to speak after them, but since I've given a chance to cross the session, I want to thank all of us for the efforts, for your participation, for your contributions, for the commitments. When we get out of home, we are ready to learn, to unlearn, to adjust, and move forward. I thank you so much to those who are positive. God bless you. And to those who are negative, may God help you to learn the other side. Yeah, I'm not against anyone. Yeah, because we are all from different nations. And my humble request is when we have our cultures from our countries and we cross, let's know that we are going to meet new people. Let's not carry our behaviors we carry home to the communities. Let's first learn how the community is operating, and then you see how you can. Let's learn to be humble, let's learn to be patient, to adjust, and let's always respect each other. Because at the end of the day, we are here, you don't know where tomorrow is leading you. I might find you, you might find me. And we are all human beings, yes. Otherwise, as we get out, those who are going to have fun, I am also part of you, don't leave me behind. Yeah, because most of times our last night, we really move around. We have fun. Maybe we shall look for the means if they are not provided for us. Maybe we can sweet talk Faraja to drop us, then we see how to come back. Yeah, so after here, we go freshen up, we plan, let's keep in touch, let's be in the group as we update each other. Thank you so much. I want to thank my boss, Honorable Speaker, Arak Andrew. Thank you for being so cooperative. I appreciate you so much. Greetings back home to all of us. And I encourage us, what we have discussed here, let's go back to our communities, encourage others, and then keep in touch with the Faraja so that we see how we can improve in our communities, do better. I want to thank the clerks. Thank you so much for your work. The sergeant at arms, the one for yesterday and today. Yeah, we also have a clerk who participated yesterday, but I don't know where she is. Thank you so much. God bless you wherever you're seated. Yeah, so I think the house is, we are done. We are going to adjourn the 7th Youth Parliament. Thank you so much. God bless you. Stay well.